Hey, what's going on everyone? Today we have the set 13 patch notes coming in with you. So there are a bunch of like small little changes that they are adding to the game, and it's heavily in line with the Arcane set, which is the new show on Netflix. So we're going to cover everything they have in this little patch notes article, seeing what's different between this set and previous sets. So there is an Arcane cinematic if you want to check this out. I'll leave the link to the patch notes in the description below as usual. There's QR mobile logins with Riot Mobile. And then there are also new cosmetics coming into the new set, most importantly, the Jinx Chibi. This is something like a mythic Chibi or like a rare Chibi or something like that. And then they also have the Into the Arcane Passes Part 1. So Bridge of Progress Arena, some treasure tokens, realm crystals, and then Little Legends. Anomaly Sprite gotta be my favorite one. Fits with the theme so well. They also have Arcane Rio, Firelight, Scribble, and Coven Shark. And then lastly, you get shards and some booms. So next one up we have is Down to the Last Drop. This is one of the new maps. And then they also have some new chibis here, which is, I think this one's Gwen. This one is going to be Caitlyn. And then we also have Vi coming in. Last up, we have Echo. And then we also have Scribble and Pixiemander variants down here. And then we go into the rank rewards. So in the new season, your rating is going to get reset, but based on your rank from the last season, you're going to get some various rewards. We're going to start anywhere from Iron 2 to Silver 4, and then we also get 5 provisional matches after the reset, meaning you will not lose any LP for bot 4 placements for the first 5 ranked games of the new set. And we also get extra LP for finishing top 4. Do note that I didn't know this, but apparently this happens all the time, but there is like a delay between mobile and PC servers going live. So if you are on mobile, you might have to wait a little bit until you start playing. I don't know exactly what time the set comes out. I know it comes out for me tomorrow, which is November 20th. But as for the time, it could be like 6 a.m. It could be like 12 p.m. It could even be at like 3 a.m. or something like that. But by the time I post this video, I'm pretty sure like Oceanic and some of the Asian servers already have it live on their server because there are time zone differences. So next up, we have some great upgrades to the user interface. Item bench. I don't actually like the look of the new item bench, but in terms of functionality, it is great because no longer will you have items disappearing. At least I haven't experienced that yet. You could hold up to 20 items and consumables now, so you don't have too crowded of a board if you sell everything. You can also combine item components on the item bench to create completed items instead of having to build it on a unit you have on your board and then like sell them to pop the item off. Consumables also now stack, so if you have like 10 magnetic removers, which is what we get now, I'm exaggerating, we get a lot though, they'll show up all in one slot instead of taking up like 10 slots. And then you could also now see your items during the carousel, so you don't have to shift back and forth like people repeatedly do. And also you could still see other players' items when scouting your board. It's a little deceptive. I got tricked by this because I go scout and I look at the top right, I'm looking for the enemy's items and I don't see anything. I'm like, wait, did they remove scouting? But it's still there. It's on the left-hand side when you scroll around, so you could still do it. It's just in a different place. Match history change. Augments will no longer appear in the endgame screens and match history. This means that augment data is going to be disappearing. I actually am going to release a video on how to still get some augment data. Mainly it's going to be the more important ones, so that's always good because you know how the combat augments are always takeable, the econ augments for the most part are always takeable. It's really just like the trait augments and the hero augments that you don't know whether they're good or not, and luckily there's still a way to get that info. I'll be releasing that guide in like 2 days maybe, so do keep an eye out for that. It's all legal too. I'm not doing any like black magic or anything like that. You're not going to get banned for doing this. But I guess if you are interested in more info on that, how to get augment data still for the important things, feel free to subscribe and get notifications for when it comes out. So next up we have is system changes. We have the new set mechanic, the anomaly. Pretty much every game on stage 4-6, you'll get an anomaly, which gives a little bonus to your team. We'll also be doing a guide on this. And you can only send 1 unit there, and there are 60 anomaly effects apparently, and you could re-roll them for 1 gold. The anomaly effects are permanent, so you don't want to put it on a unit you're not planning on running for the rest of the game. And apparently you could get all 60 options. Okay, I've never tried re-rolling 60 gold on that stage of the game, but I guess you can do it. So that is going to be a little fun. I guess you could hard force an anomaly if you have unlimited gold, but I don't see why you would because there's so many ones that like fit a lot of different units. I guess if you really only care about one thing in life, then yeah, you could still do it. Opening encounters, they are removing portals from the game, so no more voting at the start, you know. The encounter is just rigged now, so we have 10% of no encounter, Jinx Scuttle Puddle 7.5, Jinx Crab Rave 2.5, Vander Triple Gold 15%. They're talking about the gold augments, not like gold that you get in game. Echo Triple Prismatic 5%, Heimerdinger Prismatic Last One 8%, Heimerdinger Prismatic First 10%, Caitlyn Gold Subscription 6%, Loot Subscription 5%, Wandering Trainer 4%, and Wind Up Monkey. This gives you a reward on stage 3-5. That's going to be 12%. And then lastly, we have Component Anvils at 15%. Mana gain changes, they're going to be changing post-mitigation damage from 5% to 3%. So pretty much your tanks just gain less mana now. I'm assuming they're adjusting the mana pools for that. So let's say they normally would put out a unit at like 120 mana. Maybe they put it at 100 if they're a tank. Next up, we have 4-star champions. The 4-star flat health bonus is being nerfed from 500 health to 300 health. And that's because you have access to anomalies, which just buff up one unit even harder. So if you have a comp that only cares about one unit, and the 4-star champions definitely did care about that, they aren't as OP anymore. And you might be wondering how to get a 4-cost champion. Some augments let you do it. It gives you extra copies of a 1-cost unit, and then you could eventually get it to 4-star. Takes a pretty long time, but it is kind of fun. Magnetic removers are making a change that I personally disagree with, but it is what it is. Magnetic removers now drop from every single neutral round, regardless of if you already have one. This means you don't have to use your magnetic remover every stage anymore. You can just keep them on your bench. I feel like this is too many removers. Maybe they should just give like 2 per game or something like that, and you have to use it strategically, but now you just have like too many. And I feel like just keeping the same comp up without having to like switch into different things isn't as like creative anymore, or like as much as it was in the past. But golden magnetic removers now have a unique icon to make them more distinguishable, and golden prismatic orbs containing a spatula or frying pan now also have an item reforger. So if you get a spatula or frying pan, you could still force whatever you wanted to do by reforging that, because they'll always turn into the other item. Masterwork upgrade plus completed item anvil now also gets 8 gold. 2 champion duplicators plus 24 gold now gets 2 champ dupes plus 30 gold, and then Masterwork upgrade plus 20 gold now gets 24 gold. They're also making some leveling changes. XP needed to go from level 9 to level 10 is going to be increased by 8 XP, so it'll take you like an extra turn to go from level 9 to 10 as you normally would, but level 10 is so rare, you're probably not going to hit it that often. But they're essentially doing this because they lowered it before because people spent more gold in the previous set because charms cost gold. So now they're thinking going level 10 is going to be a much more appealing and consistent strategy. Let's see if that ends up being true. Item component distribution, minimum number of components is being changed from 12 to 14. That's very interesting. 12 component games usually leave you feeling short on items. You want 3 on your tank and 3 on your carry, but depending on what your drop, you might not be able to achieve that. So players often resort to taking 1 item augment to make sure that they have enough. So augment items are all going to be a little bit worse after this change then, because there's only so many units you can itemize per game. So that's an interesting change. I actually did not see this until now. I didn't notice it in game either when I was playing it on PBE. But this means it's now easier to get items on your primary carry and primary tank. And you could also have room for 1 support item, maybe like a Sunfire Cape, maybe like a Static Shiv, depending on what you need that game. Or maybe you want to run multiple carries, and it's going to be easier to do that now because now you take an item augment, you have 3 for your tank, 3 for your carry, and then 2 for your secondary carry after the item augment. Plus, if you go late game, you get extra components too. Next one up we have is some large changes. I went over all the units and what they did in the previous video, but we also have adjusted augments. Trait tracker number of emblems is being changed from 6 to 5. Tiniest Titan gold per turn is being nerfed from 2 gold to 1 gold. Tiniest Titan plus gold per turn being nerfed from 2 to 1 gold. And then they're removing a bunch of augments. Item ladder, gone. Combat bandages, dead. Final resistance, golden remover, help is on the way, partial ascension, precise planning, row rejuvenation, triforce, AFK, featherweights, exile, stationary support, keepers, silver veil, a golden quest. Pretty much a lot of them. There is one note, find vintage, we plan on bringing this back. They're just fixing some bugs that they discovered. But one thing to note is that a lot of these are being removed, but they're kind of being recreated. For example, you have my sword. There's a new you have my sword. Like you can still get a sword, but it does like some sort of different effect. I forget exactly what it's called. I went over it in the other video, but these are all changed or removed or have like a similar clone to them depending on what happened. For example, an upgraded adventure, this would be too OP on the trait that's called family because they pretty much go for the same thing every time, so they remove that. What the Forge is being changed into a different one that gives artifact items. So a lot of clones of whatever's being removed. So don't be afraid if you see one that you really like that's missing, because odds are there's something similar. They're also bringing back Underdogs and Salvage Bin. I really like Salvage Bin. Underdogs, I don't really remember using that one too much, but core items, blue buff mana is being buffed from 20 to 30. Blue buff no longer reduces max mana by 10. Wait, really? What's the point of getting it then? Oh, it now grants 10 mana after casting, so it's going back to the old one. I'm assuming this is a unique effect still, because back in the day, people would stack blue buffs on people. But it feels like it's kind of the same thing still, as long as your unit is able to cast. Deathblade attack damage 50 to 55%. Yeah, this item was not built too much in the last set, so they needed to buff it. Guardbreaker now grants 10% damage amp. Guardbreaker amp after hitting a shield is being reduced from 25% to 15%. So the total damage of the Guardbreaker effect is still the same because you have 10 plus 15, but you now get 10% amp on everything else from before. Giant Slayer now has 5% base damage amp. Giant Slayer amp against 1750 plus HP enemies is now being reduced from 25 to 15. This is to make Giant Slayer more usable, because oftentimes it would be the worst item in the early game but the best item in the late game. Probably still is going to be the case, but before it was like completely unusable early. Let's say you're going an attack damage comp and you have a bow and a sword. You just can't build any items even though you have perfect components for your team. You have to wait for like Last Whisper, Infinity Edge, or something like that instead. But maybe now it doesn't feel so bad to slam the Giant Slayer. My gut's telling me still don't do it because it's still not that great of an early game item. Damage amp is really better in the later parts of the game anyways. And then it also provides like a late game nerf because it was by far like the best damage item in the late game. Like everyone has 750 plus health in the late game, so you just get like too many stats, right? I mean, that's how the item's designed. Hand of Justice no longer randomly doubles the attack damage and ability power or Omnivamp. Hand of Justice attack damage and ability power are doubled above 50% health, and Omnivamp is doubled below 50% health. Oh, that's a very interesting change. That's actually really good then, because now you can build Hand of Justice on your backline carry and not feel bad about it. It's actually a really good backline carry item now that I think about it, assuming you can make use of both the AP and AD, because now if you are above health, you get a bunch of damage stats. Like obviously you want that in the backline. And then if you get hit by a bunch of AoE effects, you'll heal up a little bit and then you're going to be good to go. Like obviously it's not going to be good as like pure damage items in the backline because that's generally what people build, but very interesting concept. Hextech Gunblade attack damage and AP 15 to 20. Omnivamp is going to be reduced. Ally healing is going to be reduced. They say this is going to make it better. For Hextech Gunblade, we're leaning into its identity as a backline item meant for healing allies by moving some of its power from self-healing Omnivamp to ally healing vibes, because what says healing vibes more than a gun and sword combo? That's very true. Oh, I see, yeah. Less healing to yourself, more to your allies. Quicksilver CC immunity duration buffed up by 4 seconds, but attack speed per 2 seconds is going to be reduced. So still going to be a good item. It's because there are a lot of melee carries out right now, and Quicksilver is always the best, or one of the best defensive items on melee carries. So that's why they're adjusting that one a little bit. Radiant items, Blue Blessing is going to be changed to adjust. Demon Slayer, same thing. Fist of Fairness, same thing. Yeah, same thing for all of these. So not too much to cover here. It's just the same thing from before. Artifact items, Blighting Jewel, gaining 15 mana. Deathfire Grass, losing 5% damage amp, also losing 15 mana. Hole Crusher no longer grants 30% attack speed. Hole Crusher attack damage and ability power being nerfed a bit. Lichbane attack speed buffed up. Light Crest armor reduced. Shield now also has a duration of 5 seconds. Mogul's Mail Gold Interfill 9 to 8 seconds. Unending Despair shield damage is going to be dropped 10%. Unending Despair health 400 to 350. So one thing to note with artifact items is that it's always good to data check these. We will have data live on teamfight.lol. It's a data site that I help create and use. And it's really good to data check artifact items that way because you don't build them too often, so you can't like memorize everything about them. Obviously you take ones that are relevant to your team, but if you want to know if something's like complete Garbo or complete OP, just check the website before you start playing. Bug fixes, fishing for a fix. Fishbones now better handles champions changing their range mid-combat. Fix typos with Hole Crusher, Spite, and Static's Favor, which is Radiant Static Shiv. Multiple Eternal Flames now correctly give ally stacking damage amp. For Golem spawning and smashing is really confused. Golem smash ability now uses a slam animation instead of a spawn animation on cast. No takebacks, Golden Remover can now be used on Thieves Gloves with 1 bench slot open. You couldn't do that before? That's a hilarious bug. Fix a visual bug with the Windstreak VFX on Le Bunny Bon Bon Bistro Arena. That's the one I use. Probably not going to switch to any of the new arenas. Like I have to use Le Bunny Bon Bon because if I don't use it, who will? But there is also more stuff that's being changed if you played from the PBE. We'll go over that quickly right now. This is from Mortdog's Twitter, so it's like very official. But they did make some trait changes to Automata. They got buffed. Bruisers got buffed. He said that Bruisers were the weakest tank trait when you compare it to Watcher and Sentinel. Chem Baron, very dangerous trait. So it was pretty OP because you get like great cash outs with it and stuff. It's pretty much like the fortune trait of the set. Dominator shield is being adjusted. Dominator shield is being buffed at low levels, and then AP to mana percent is going to be nerfed. So this is like and then AP to mana percent is being nerfed at the highest level of Dominator. Emissary 4, 300 to 200 HP. Enforcer getting some slight nerfs to the later levels. Enforcer was by far the best trait on PBE, like the best vertical trait. They might need to nerf this a little bit more. I'm going to try playing this tomorrow because I don't think this nerf is enough for it, but we'll see. Experiment emblem bonus HP percent 40% to 60%. Rebel AD and AP is going to be buffed up a little bit at early Rebel. 10-piece proc is also going to be changed from every 6 seconds to every 8 seconds. 1 cost unit, Darius nerfed, Draven nerfed. Draven was really popular in the family build or in like Conqueror build. Vladimir mana is going to be buffed up by quite a bit. His first cast is going to be slower, but every cast after that can be a bit faster. Blitzcrank buffs to a shield. Gangplank, the range versions being nerfed. Like, yeah, most people play Gangplank as a range unit. I haven't seen too many people try him as melee. Kog'Maw bonus range cast is going to be changed from 2 to 3. Bonus damage going to be nerfed as well. Nunu damage reduction going up. Scar HP nerfed. Mana also nerfed. Smeech 65 to 68 AD. 4 cost, Echo getting spell damage and secondary damage buffs. Elise getting a heal buff. Heimerdinger lower missile damage. And then Silco higher minion damage. 5 cost, Jace melee is going to be buffed actually, and his range is being buffed. I actually thought Jace was a solid unit. Maybe I was wrong in my assessment there because apparently they're buffing him. Malzahar also getting a buff to mana. And then Mordekaiser AoE slam damage is going to be reduced at 1 star but increased at 2 star. Savika base spell damage AD is going to be nerfed. And then on the next page, we have some augments. Now that they are removing augment data, I do wish they have like a official list out of what augments are available, because sometimes they disable augments without saying anything. I've seen it before, or an augment gets bugged out and no one knows. Now we'll never know that because the augment data is gone. But academic research no longer triggers when creating emblems. A golden find kills per gold changed from 2 to 3. Battle scars disabled. Black Rose Crown temporarily removed. Bronze for life damage amp 4% to 3.5%. Bulky Buddies getting a health buff at both of them. Contested disabled to the bugs. Crimson Pact mana per auto being nerfed. Spell base damage amp being buffed, and then damage amp per cast being buffed. Domination attack speed getting nerfed and shield getting nerfed. Dumbify health is being changed from 85% to 100%. I think this was like the worst augment in the PBE because there was some PBE augment data out there. If I remember correctly, this was the worst one because I mean, you just delete your whole team, right? Like it's probably really hard to execute. So maybe the data is a bit biased. Maybe it's a bit better than it actually shows just because it's kind of hard to execute, right? Flexible team HP per emblem 30 to 40. Ghosts of Friends pass 80 and AP percent being nerfed and no longer grants health for non-champion unit deaths. Gloves off Vander buff. Golemify being buffed. Hall of Mirrors disabled. Hard commit. Bug fix can no longer very rarely give an emblem for a trait without valid 2, 3, 4, 5 costs. I hope this works. Powder fallout per hex is being reduced from 22 to 20. Law enforcement enforcer wanted gold per kill 5 to 6. Lone hero being buffed. Mad chemist nerfed. Mana flow being nerfed by 1 mana. Moonlight number of units is being changed from 2 to 1. That's a huge change. Holy cow. Is Moonlight even playable anymore? Bonus stats are being increased though, but that seems wild to me. Rocket Collection Artillerist is being nerfed by quite a bit. Same with the plus. Shield Bash, bonus armor and MR being dropped by 3%, damage conversion 10%, Spirit Link, health regen 4 to 5, Starry Night, level odds for 3 cost, 4 cost, and 5 cost all being buffed up. Table scraps temporarily removed. Tower defense, tower attack damage 70 to 60. Trait unlock martial law being nerfed. Unlikely duo, I think that one's Jinx and Savika, that one's being nerfed as well. Trolling, that's Trundle. Spell attack speed being buffed up. Void Caller Visionary, mana per Voidling is going to be buffed up by 25. Mana per Voidling is going to be nerfed by 25, and health is also being nerfed. Void Swarm, rounds per item 9 to 11. Attack speed down, Hyper Roll, rounds per item going to be increased as well. Warpath disabled and double up. Welcome to the playground. Survival time is being changed from 14 seconds to 17 seconds. I think you still make this timer in like most of your games anyways. This is the one where if 2 of your 3 family members survive for like 17 seconds of the fight, you get an extra copy of Jinx or Violet or something like that. Why not both? This one was one of the most broken augments, but the stats are being nerfed by 3. Anomaly, Defense Expert, Armor and MR from all sources being buffed up. Essence and Navori disabled. Fireball, mana spent required being buffed up. Kill Streak, mana on kill being nerfed. Magic Training, mana spent to trigger 15 to 20. Miniaturized, stat shared 60 to 75. And Wolf Familiars, AD share 35 to 45%. I have a hot take on anomalies. I have a feeling they're going to overbuff a lot of the defensive ones, because I think most people are going to put their anomaly on whoever their damage dealer is, like their primary carry. And it makes sense, right? Because that is the most important unit. So to kind of compensate for that, they have to make the tank ones more enticing. So they might overdo it to encourage people to put it on a tank and be different, be a little edgy, but we'll have to see. But that's my prediction for anomalies. Because I don't think they want a game where you're just fishing for something that's only good on your carry and you don't care about anything else. Bug fixes fixed an issue where melee Jace's target would fly at an inconsistent speed. Fixed tower defense can no longer be offered if you have Wandering Trainer. Fix an issue where power up could be offered on 2-1 even if the 3-2 augment is prismatic. Kog'Maw no longer procs 1000 cuts twice per attack. Black Rose 4+ Scion and Hyper Roll now properly scales with stage. Quality over quantity and Scavenger are now mutually exclusive. Fix an issue where Morgana and Zyra's 4-star spell values were incorrect. Rerolling a Chem Baron item with Pandora's items no longer lets you keep the item even with Chem Baron inactive. So those are going to be the changes. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be releasing the tier list on Friday, but it will be live on my website before that. I'm going to update it like right now and just have some comps out there, because obviously people want to climb, and that's going to be on bunnymuffins.lol/meta. But the official video will be coming out on Friday. But let me know your thoughts on everything that we went over. Do you like some of the system changes that they kind of introduced? Do you not like them? Mainly it's going to be the augment data and the removers that I think are going to be the most talked about. Like obviously item bench, no one's going to think this is going to be horrible, right? Like even though I think it could be improved still, maybe it's just me needing to get used to it, but not having my items disappear, not having too full of an item bench, like no one can say that's a bad change, right? But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also don't forget to look out for my little tip on how to still get augment data in a future video in the next couple of days. And apart from that, that's going to be it for me today. I'll see you all next time.